why is this something you've wanted to do for 6 decades? Why have you never wanted to do anything else or just ride off to the beach somewhere?
Well, first of all, you got to understand something. I was a jock. That's all I was. I was just a jock. I got out of the Army where I played basketball at Fort Monmouth and got out of the Army. And of course, I was on the Illinois freshman baseball and basketball teams and got cut as a junior in baseball and wasn't good enough, and got cut as a sophomore in basketball because I wasn't good enough. But I've always had a love for the University of Illinois. I'm from Monticello, and I knew Harry Combs personally. I knew his whole family personally. He was from Monticello, and he was the coach at the time. So I don't know. I just got involved with Illinois, and then when I got out of the Army, I was lucky enough to get a job in Hammond, Indiana, which is just a fluke that I wound up being a sports writer because I said, what do you want me to do? And they said, well, cover the games and write about the games. I said, well, I guess I can do that. And so I did it for 11 years and got an opportunity to come back here. And it's the only job I ever wanted. I really enjoy it. I mean, I'm doing things now. I think when you get older, you simply do the things that you enjoy doing. And what I enjoyed, the last thing I want to do is be alone in my condo doing nothing. And that's terrible for me. And I probably should even do more because I spend too much free time now that I've kind of given up golf.
Yeah.
You know, I just really enjoy what I'm doing.
What do you enjoy most about getting to the game, right? And being there, Loren, even after all these decades of covering games, why is that still a thrill to you, or what kind of feeling do you get doing that?
I just like to write about them, and I really I don't like to shotgun a story afterwards. I like to have time to think about it and put it in perspective if possible. That's the fun of it for me. The fun of my existence is writing, and I do the radio because they only want me to write once a week, and so I got to do something in between. I guess that's what it is, and I enjoy talking about it, but I really enjoy writing the most. And what I've been doing is, since they moved my column back, so we don't have a Sunday paper, I have a day to think about it. And I would tell you, the truth of it is that, and this is probably, you never heard of this before, nearly everything that I think of comes to me at night when I go to bed. There's probably a 10 or 15 minute period where I write columns in my head, laying there. And then when I wake up, I forgot most of it. so I keep a notebook by, and I make some notes. So I'm reminding myself of what I forgot.
What is your process of writing, Loren? There's the idea part of it. What's your process of putting that all together?
Well, I just get on I tell you what I used to do way back when I didn't have a computer and I was just typing. I would scramble up the first page, and then I'd write the second and third page pretty solid, and then go back and rewrite the front one. And the column I've got coming out on this Friday about welcoming the fans back was an idea that I got just laying there in bed thinking, well, what would be a good idea to talk about? And I talked about the number of fans that we lost during during the era of Lovie Smith and before that. And I came up with a statistic where I found that out of the last 30 years, and let's just take the 26 years before Bielema got here. Do you know that we only had 2 teams finish over 500 in the Big Ten? 2 teams in 26 years, 2001 and 2007. You remember those, Turner and Zook. And I don't know, I built my column around that, and then I wrote it. I got up one day and I wrote it, and then I just forgot about it for a day and came back to it. And when I came back to it, I made a lot of changes. So I'm being fussy with it, but not, I have to look stuff up. But what I really enjoy is the writing. Now, originally, what I really enjoyed, if you would say, well, what's the best part of your life? And other than family, and I got four wonderful kids here in town. Kids, Melinda's 71, took me out to dinner last night. That was wonderful. But the greatest time of my life, without any doubt, was the 10 years that I was a pitcher up in the Hammond area, up in South Chicago, and we won the state 3 times and went out to Wichita. And the last thing I did, before you probably had me tell you this, but the last thing I did on the final day of August 1966, I pitched a game in Wichita, and we beat Alabama 4-2. And I came back to Hammond and wrote a goodbye column in Hammond and a hello column in Champaign. And I arrived down here just before the slush fund, and I never knew what hit me. I was just a jock. I really was. I have no idea, whatever writing I do, you just learn over time. Yeah. But I really wasn't much of a writer, and I don't think I'm a great writer now. I'm not, obviously, but I'm a lot better than I used to be, and I'm a lot better when I have time to think about it. But when I really think about what I really enjoyed the most, I enjoyed playing the most. Absolutely enjoyed playing sports the most in my lifetime.
Yeah, and Loren, I was not near the athlete you were, but I just always loved sports, right? And I just wanted to be around it, and this was a way to be around it. So what is it about sports that you just connected with?
Well, let me just say something. First of all, when I was in Hammond, we had an Illini club in Harvey, which is right next to Hammond, Harvey, Illinois, and we had Hale Swanson and Lou Boudreau, and we'd have Ray Elliott come up and speak, and so I got to know Ray, and then I got to know Pete Elliott really well. I mean, Pete Elliott made every person he ever met think that they were the greatest person in the world. But I just loved Pete Elliott. And when the games were over, I'd go in the locker room and sit around and talk to the coaches. They'd go and take a shower, and they'd come back, and I'd talk to a different one. It was so different. I was so close, and I knew all the players, and I knew all the coaches, and it was a great relationship. Then the slush fund hit that I only had 1 year with Pete. And, after that, I got more disassociated with the program for a multitude of reasons, one of which was I had to write the truth, and some of it wasn't so good. We had a long period of time there, about 20 years, where we were off and on having trouble with the NCAA. I don't know if you recall that before Gunther got here. Illinois had a lot of problems. And Stoner, Neil Stoner, I was involved in his demise because we broke the stories about the things that he did improperly. And then, at that point, I became known as that damn Tate, and around the athletic department, and it was different because all of a sudden I'm disassociated with the people that I really, and ever since then there's been a space between me and the department that's different than it was when I really when I came up and when I was so close. The first trip to Chicago for the Big Ten meetings in basketball, Harry Combs, the head coach, called me and says, "You want to fly up with me?" And the two of us flew up together. That's how it was in those days. It was just a different relationship. And it's not, and maybe I look back on those and, that's what really drew me in. And what's happened since is just nothing I could do about it.
How difficult is that, Loren, as a journalist? Because you want that access, but you also got to do your job, right? Which is report whatever. What was that like for you as a young reporter getting thrown into the deep end with that slush fund?
Well, it was horrible. I mean, I had to watch as Pete Elliott and Harry Combs lost their jobs, and Howie Brown lost his job. We lost several players. We had a basketball team that would have probably won the Big Ten. Indiana won it that year, and we were better. But we lost 3 of our top players. Rich Jones was declared ineligible for receiving something in the neighborhood of $30 a month. Think about that now. Ron Dunlap was our center. He would have been a dominant center that year, and of course we lost him. And Steve Kuberski was also was not yet a superstar, became an NBA player, but he was just a sophomore breaking in that year. And by Christmas they were all gone. By Christmas, just think about it. I got here in August, and by Christmas we're in the slush fund. And like I said, I never knew what hit me. Mm-hmm. I didn't know. It was a terrible time, and you can't imagine the love that people had for Pete Elliott. He was just the most easy to like guy you'll ever meet.
You and Lou Henson had a special relationship. It seemed like that grew over the years, and maybe it was different when he was a coach.
Right, it grew over time. Yes.
How did that develop? Because I don't know how many relationships are like that anymore between a coach and a reporter. So how did that grow?
Hamill and Bob Knight were, of course, they're both gone now. Bob Hamill passed away this last summer, but Bob Hamill and Knight were that way. And I suppose that there were reporters over there when Katie was there that he was real close to. But Lou was just, I always had a system with Lou. If I wrote something that I knew he didn't like, I just stay away from him for a day or two, and then when we see each other, it was like it never happened. Yeah. But Lou was very forgiving and just a really nice man. And then basically when he retired, we played a lot of golf together, a lot of golf. Lou was he became a golf fanatic. He had to be doing something all the time.
The rivalries, the marching bands, the upsets. Saturdays just got way more fun. College football is back. Think you know the game? Put your knowledge to the test with DraftKings Sportsbook and turn your picks into big payouts. With live betting, rivalry week odds boosts, and more, DraftKings Sportsbook has everything you need to own every Saturday. If you want to make a wager before Illinois kicks off on Friday, you got 3 Big Ten games on Thursday. Minnesota 17.5-point favorite over Buffalo, Wisconsin 17.5-point favorite over Miami, Ohio, and Nebraska playing Cincinnati and Kansas City. The Cornhuskers 6.5-point favorites in that one, and the big game on Saturday, Ohio State 2.5-point favorite over Texas. Lines and odds subject to change. And here's something special for you first-timers. New DraftKings customers, you bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. So right now, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Illini. That's code Illini for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-78-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. Fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. I do want to ask you, Owen, and get your perspective. There is a lot of excitement about Illinois football because, like you said, I mean, they've had a few winning seasons in the Big Ten, 2 in the last 3 years. When's the last time you can remember like legitimate, genuine excitement like this around the program?
Well, I think at this level, you'd have to go back to 1983 and 4. We were ranked and we had sellouts, and that 84 season was supposed to be a big season because we'd been undefeated in the Big Ten the year before. But Mike White had a way of, he had everybody, the men, the women, the kids, everybody loved Mike White. And that team, after they went undefeated, it was a downer when we lost in the Rose Bowl. But the team coming back in 84, there was a tremendous amount of hope and some disappointment that it wasn't better.
Why do you think Illinois, over all these years you've covered them, especially since the 80s, right, has struggled to kind of find that sustained success?
Well, it's a combination of things. I mean, part of it was some bad coaching decisions. I think that even the Beckman decision, certainly most recently, and the Lovie Smith decision, those were bad decisions. I mean, they just didn't work out at all. And basically because we needed somebody to oversee a program and get the recruiting going, and Bielema seems to be doing that. We haven't had a coach exactly like him in that every other, I shouldn't say nearly every other coach found himself engaged in one aspect of the team. For instance, Mike White and John Makovic were strictly offensive coaches. Makovic didn't even want Tepper's defensive game plan. He didn't care. He said, you're running the defense, I'm running the offense. You take care of your part, I'll take care of my part. That's very different than what we have now. And I think there was a certain amount of that even with Zook. I mean, even though he had defensive inclinations, you had Vic Koenig, who was a tremendous defensive coach, just outstanding. And I think Vic ran his program and, defensively. But now we've got a guy that's an overseer. And understand, Jeremy, just think about this. You're the head coach. The first thing you got to do is deal with the money aspect. You've got to decide how much you're going to pay each player, because you're the guy that has to make that decision. And you're the guy that, in many cases, that has to raise the money, because let's say I'm a fundraiser, and I'm talking to a donor. That donor would love to talk to the head coach, and maybe the head coach is the key to sealing the deal. And maybe you're going to get $1 million out of somebody that can afford it. And you need the coach in there involved, so he's involved in so many aspects before he even gets to the practice field, and the NIL and the distributions out of the university now coming this year at $20.5 million. He had to decide how that money on the football side, just on the football side, how that would be distributed. That's never been the case, I don't think, to the extent that it is now. Do you?
No, he's a true CEO of a program, right? Like,
yeah.
This is a true CEO. It's what feels different. And the biggest thing that stuck out to me about why he's different, Loren, is Zook was able to hire some good coaches, but it did feel like it was all on Loxley or all on Koenig.
Loxley was a good offensive coach, I think.
Yeah, no, yeah. Like there were some really, really good coaches in there. I don't know if I've seen top to bottom a staff as qualified as this one. So just the people he can bring into the program. And let's be honest, the way he's able to push Josh Whitman, who obviously is really good at what he does, but he's asked for more and he's gotten it, and he's been able to turn that. So I don't know. I feel differently about Brett Bielema than the head coaches I've covered, for sure. What about you? Does he remind you of anybody, or how do you feel about him compared to?
No, he doesn't remind me of anybody in the way he goes about it, because he coaches the coaches in most cases. And he said that. He said more than ever in my career, I coach the coaches. Aaron Henry, he just simply brought him along. I mean, Aaron Henry is an extension of his development of a coach. And I think that, he had a year of learning there that may not have been as great as and I'm sure he helped a lot in that regard, but he's really close with Henry, and Lundy, I guess Illinois is the only school in the Big Ten and practically around the country in many cases that has the same head coach, two coordinators, starting quarterback, all of them back for the third year. That's incredible.
Yeah. And
it's not normal in this day and age, the way things are going. And the reason that Illinois is considered, to be in the top 12 as they are ranked, is because they have so many people returning that have been successful in the past.
Yeah. So, Loren, I want to ask you, because you've seen this history of great year followed by disappointment. What gives you hope that this team can not follow that trend that this program's had?
What gives me hope? Well, I don't know hope. The thing that I worry about is that the good fortune that Illinois had in so many close games, winning 5 games that were, nearly lost, all trailing in the fourth quarter. If you, and 2 of them were overtimes, I just think, I don't know if you can be that fortunate again. I mean, I watched the Iowa State defeat of Kansas State in Dublin Saturday, and the first thing I saw was a punt returner dropping a punt. Then I saw a fumble on the 1-yard line, and I saw some things happen that I thought, nobody's got any control over that. It can just happen. So I don't know. I'm leery of what might happen this year. I think we got a better football team probably than last year. Whether we win 10 games is a whole nother story. Great. Because I think Duke is a test, and then you're probably going to be a slight a toss up or a slight underdog at Indiana, and then you got USC and Ohio State coming up early. I mean, those early games, it could be really tough, and those games are going to be hard to win. So certainly, Ohio State will be an underdog
for sure. What is success this year for you then for Illinois football?
What is success? Well, ultimate success is getting in the playoff. I mean, that's the goal. That is the new goal of this program, is to get in the football playoff, the 12-teamer, and there'll be 16 next year probably. But that would be my idea of a really successful program. If it's less than that, I can understand it, because I think there's just too many things you don't have control over. So I am hopeful, but I don't know that we'll. It's great to have this option of maybe making the playoff. If you can win some of these early games, you're going to have a real shot at it.
What do you think of the playoff expanding as much as it has and expanding further? I mean, you remember the days of, not too long ago, Loren, we were awarding national championships by an AP vote, right? So how do you feel about how we do the college football postseason now?
Well, I don't like people voting for a champion. I'd rather they played it. I think 16 teams is I know that if you go back 30, 40, 50 years, the presidents would all say, we can't have the players playing that many games. If they've been playing that many games at a lower level, I mean, they're playing just as hard as we're playing up here in FBS. And so I guess it's okay. I mean, I know that depth is going to be a huge part, because there are going to be injuries along the way. There are going to be players that aren't going to get there all the way through. If you're going to play that many games, if you're going to play 16 games, it's going to be tough. But I know I'm going to enjoy it. I'm just glad that Jeremy. I'm glad that the games are here, because I'm tired of talking about NIL and transfer portal and all that stuff. Let's have a season where we don't have to worry about that. And of course, when the season's over, we'll go right back to it again.
Well, you brought it up, so I got to ask you about it now. How do you feel about this? The era of college sports that we're in, where the money is going.
Yes, there's not a court in the land, and I don't think many people believe that you should limit what anybody can make at any time. With their name, image, and likeness, their ability to earn money, and there isn't a court that's going to say that's going to put a limit on it. So as soon as they announce that they're going to look at everything over $600, and they're going to stop some people from receiving, all they got to do is go to court, and there hadn't been one indication yet that the courts are going to limit how much a player or anybody else can make in terms of making a living.
Has it changed your enjoyment of college sports at all?
My enjoyment is different now, Jeremy, because I have no closeness like you do to the players. Yeah. I mean, I'm not, that makes a big, I mean, I was really close at one time to the players. I mean, one time, Randy Cruz and Jody Harrison, those guys were, we're going way back now, maybe before you were born. And I said, you'll never beat Northwestern. I was kidding those guys. You'll never beat Northwestern this week. And Randy said, if we beat them, we're going to throw you in the shower. I said, you'll never beat them. Northwestern's too good for you. I'm really ragging them. They beat Northwestern, and I wore washed pants that night. They threw me in the shower. That's a different relationship. These guys, I'm sure that when we start interviewing some of our players and they see me standing there, they wonder, who in the devil is that guy?
They know.
I'm thinking, and I don't blame them. I mean, there's nobody 93 years old in this country right now covering football. Is there?
No.
Is there anybody that's old? I mean,
I don't think so, Loren, but that's what makes you great. I love that you are still
doesn't make me great. It makes me different. but I mean, I mean, I don't think I've never seen anybody as old and as ugly as me out there trying to do what I'm doing. But you know what?
I don't know about I don't know about old, Loren, but
doing it. But I feel kind of embarrassed at times because I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be doing this.
Yes, you should. Yes, you should.
I keep telling my kids, you'd all be a lot better off financially if I wasn't here. It's not your fault that I lived this long.
You said old and this ugly. I certainly don't know about old, but certainly there are uglier fellows out there covering college athletics, Loren. Don't look a day over 75.
I'd be in the contest.
With the start of football season, that means it's travel time for us here at Illini Inquirer. And you ever hate where you got to put that toiletry bag together and you're like, do I really need 3 mini bottles and a backup deodorant? Well, that's why I started packing smarter with Mando. Mando has a 4-in-1 acidified cleansing bar that has shampoo, face wash, body wash, and deodorant all in one bar. And it also works as a shaving lather. So really, it's 5-in-1. It simplifies your whole hygiene routine, saves space in your bag for fun stuff like snacks, extra shoes, all that stuff. Also, Mando's sweat control deodorant stick is fantastic. It stops odor before it starts, and it's more than just for underarms, guys. It has all-day odor blocking, not just masking with fragrance. It also fights sweat, so it gives you double protection. It's so simple. 1 or 2 swipes under each arm keeps you fresh and dry all day, and it's safe for all skin types. It's doctor-developed, it's high quality, and it has premium ingredients. This isn't your average deodorant or antiperspirant. It combats sweat, stops odor, and respects skin. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. And as a special offer for our listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use code Illini at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide and free shipping. That's code Illini at shopmando for 20% off site-wide and free shipping. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered. Protect your pits. Smell great doing it. Loren, I wanted to ask you, it's awesome that we're talking about football this much, right? I mean, this used to be like, hey, just entertain us for a month until basketball season starts. But I do want to get your thoughts on another new look Illinois basketball team, but at least we have a couple players we know with Tommy and Kylan back. So what do you think of their offseason and the roster they put together?
I think this roster is about as good, pretty close to as good as we've ever had. I don't think it is the very, very best, but I think it's close to one. I'd say it's one of the top 4 or 5 units that we've ever. Now, I shouldn't use the word unit. It individually at the 5 positions. Now that we've got Petrovic as back at guard, we got 2 really good point guards. We got 2 really good centers. I think at least 1 really good center. I've got to see Big Z, see how good he is, but I'm sure he's going to be of value. And we got Stokojevic, who'll probably be our leading scorer. I wouldn't be surprised. And Merkovich. I just think that the job now falls on Underwood to put this together. He's got the players. Can this team mesh? Can he bring them together? I think it's a tough coaching job, but he's the right guy for it.
Yeah. For
this type of situation, he is the right guy. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that he'll be successful, but I think basketball is going to be. And by the way, his scheduling is really good. He schedules good teams more so than Lute ever did, and many of our coaches would not take on this kind of schedule. But playing, in Madison Square Garden every year, and now we're going to be going back up to Chicago, and of course we always go to St. Louis and we pick up a home game here and another game there, and I just think that. I think everything really is positive for basketball. It's going to be sold out, and I think Illinois can make a run. Although I do think that obviously that Purdue and Michigan are going to be awfully good teams, and it's going to be hard to win it. But I think Illinois will be a contender by the end of the season. This should be a good team, assuming that he can get these guys to play together, and I think he will. But there's, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes the pieces don't quite mix, and I'm not sure how good we'll be defensively, and that worries me.
I want to ask you kind of just to zoom out here, Loren, because you look on paper and I see Underwood through 9 years and Lou Henson through 9 years. Very similar kind of records. You know, they make an Elite Eight. They've had some NCAA tournament losses, but they built the program kind of from the ashes. Both of those coaches did. Very different people, they're very different personalities. But are there any similarities to what Brad did to what Lou did?
That's I never thought about that. Lou was the success of Lou was breaking down Chicago and getting all those good players out of Chicago, whereas you would say that Underwood went slightly a little further out to get his athletes. But the one thing is different is that I saw all of Lou's practices. When 4 o'clock came, for years, for decades, when 4 o'clock came, I knew it was time to go to basketball practice. I'd sit there and watch him practice and talk to Lou and go out with Lou afterwards and talk to him about it. Now, of course, that doesn't happen, and we don't see any practices. And I'm not going out and having drinks with Underwood because that just isn't the relationship we have. I mean, we get along great, but it isn't the same as it was in those days. And I don't. They're different in a lot of ways, but I don't know. I have to think about that. I'm not sure.
It's just like the trajectory of where they started to where they got towards the back end of their first decade. But then Lou punched through with a Final Four, right? And he had some. I mean, people maybe they will overlook it now, Loren, but he had some bad losses in the NCAA tournament, but he led him to the Final Four, and it feels like Brad, once he gets one of those, there's no questions anymore for anybody that does have questions. But that's the one thing he's got to do.
Disappointing in the NCAA that when they get into tough games, they've lost a lot of the tough games. Yeah. Both of them have. And that's one thing we'd like to see. Although reaching the Elite Eight is great, reaching the Final Four is really good. Weber's the only guy that got us to the championship game.
That's right.
And he'll be here this weekend, by the way.
Yeah. Well, Josh Whitman, Brad Underwood, Brett Bielema, I'll even throw Shauna Green into there. When's the last time you felt this good about Illini athletics, Loren?
Well, I suppose when I was in school, we won everything. Illinois won back-to-back baseball championships when I was here. We won wrestling championship in the Big Ten. We were dominant in track. We were tremendous. I mean, nothing has fallen quite like track did. Now it's on the way back up. And again, with a lot of foreign athletes coming over in track and helping the program. But we've fallen short in the overall sports. Our swimming isn't very good. Our softball has slipped. And, I'm not quite sure where baseball is going, although we won the baseball championship year before last. I don't know. I think we'll never be as dominant as we once were. And when you put 18 teams in a conference and you bring those 4 West Coast schools in the sports that they're really good at, I mean, they're good. They're going to make it very hard for anybody to win the Big Ten championship. Now it's going to be harder because those teams are good. Oregon won the football championship last year. We keep forgetting about that. And if you analyze all the sports that, let's just say that Illinois is engaged in, and see how many of those were won by West Coast schools, you'd be surprised. It's really hard to win when they got that level of talent out there.
Yeah, and the weather. I mean, golf.
Jeremy, you think that'll end someday? You think we'll ever get back to a normal Midwest conference?
I would love it, Loren. My idea is just to get the Super League, get it done, whatever it is, 48 schools, 60 schools, whatever it is. Have 2 conferences, or I guess 4 conferences with divisions, and that leads into the playoff. I don't know. I do miss having that geographic rivalry. I think it's going to hit when we see Illinois play Iowa 2 times every 5 years, when we see Illinois only play, Indiana 2 times every 5 years. I think it's really going to hit us then.
We should play Indiana, Iowa, Wisconsin, those teams every year forever. It's just crazy not to, because they're a natural rival. Now, we consider them our natural rivals. They don't consider us their natural rivals for some reason. You know, I know they were listing their natural rivals, and we weren't in the top three. And I was kind of surprised at that, but that's just the way they think. But in any case, we're kind of stuck with some. I'd say this thing's going to break open in about 3 or 4 years when we get close to the ACC running out their contract to get the numbers down to a point where they can leave for Florida State and Clemson and maybe North Carolina, who knows who else, will leave the conference and join either the SEC or the Big Ten when they can. That's their goal. Yep. And maybe that would shake things up, and maybe that would start what you're talking about and I know that that's something that Josh Whitman's thought about, because he wants to make sure Illinois. There was a time when you look back at, particularly in football, and Illinois wasn't in the top 48. Yep. As bad as that is, we weren't. This was a bad football program for a long time.
Yeah, you got to be over that cut line, and I think they certainly have done that with Bielema, with Underwood. That's been hugely important for this program. So I think they've established themselves there. Plus, you get the market in there. Listen, I understand expansion from a business perspective, from a TV perspective, Loren. I don't think it's greatest for the sport or the fandom, but people are still watching. So.
No, although I guess when USC comes in, we'll all be excited about it.
That's right.
I will, at least. I mean, I think that I don't know where we're going, frankly. I just don't know. There's been too much change in the last 5 years, or, coming out of COVID. There's just so much change. I don't know what the next change is. But I do know that the money is going to be a huge factor in this whole thing. And everybody, Kentucky, Tennessee, they're already out testing the limits of the new so-called rules. And there doesn't seem to be any way to enforce or prevent. There's no enforcement process that I know that will prevent guys from making as much money as they can make. And they're going to go way beyond $600. Although right now we don't feel it as much, because a lot of those schools beat the July 1 deadline by giving players money. That, I see Underwood's the starting quarterback for Michigan, the freshman, and I don't know how much he's getting. I think originally, what was it, 8 or 10 million, right? Something like over 4 years. Isn't that the number?
It's like 12, I think, over 3 or 4 years.
Well, it's a big number, whatever it was. $3 million a year for 4 years. Not that he'd be there 4 years, but I don't know what I don't know what multi-year contracts, how they're going to work in the future when you start testing them, because people will be receiving more money based on those contracts than you're allowed to make under the NCAA rules. But that's a whole nother, that's something we'll get into when the season's over.
Yeah, Loren, my approach to it has been, I got to understand the rules now and how it's working right now. But I have to understand that also it's going to change in the next year, the next 3 years, the next 5, like everything is going to look different. So we're just kind of in this weird in between that is so messy right now.
We got, and you know who makes the rules, don't you? The courts.
Yeah, now.
It. I mean, nobody makes the rules until the course is decided.
And Congress could do that if they want to.
Well, now that's that's a whole different story. If Congress would somehow step in, and what Congress was recommending was very close to what the NCAA wants. Yeah. And I just I guess that would be good. It would sure put limits on what players could make.
Yeah, which I mean that could get taken to court too, but it would certainly have a way more lasting impact than any rules the College Sports Commission or the NCAA comes up with. So yeah, it's all interesting, Loren. It'll be all interesting to come up here. Any final thoughts on the season and year ahead for Illinois athletics?
No, I think that I'll mention again. I think that the Iowa State Kansas State game reminded me of just how iffy games can be in the final moments. If you go back to Nebraska and you go back to USC, and I will tell you that both those teams were just as good as Illinois for 50 minutes. Now, what happened in the last 10 minutes, you can't always control, but Illinois was able to do that. Believe me, it's incredible the losses that those two schools have suffered in the final minutes of games. And it was all topped by what we saw in the Notre Dame USC game, where Notre Dame had two returns in the final minutes. The final 5 minutes, they had a 99-yard interception return and a 100-yard interception return. Now, you couldn't predict that. You can't predict what's going to happen at the end of games. I think we're of a mind to be very positive about what that Illinois can pull these games out, but we will have close games and we're going to have to pull them out. And when you have time, by the way, when you have a lot of time, explain to me the Purdue game last year.
I don't think I can. You know what I've said, Loren? It's one of the worst coaching seasons I can remember in the Big Ten, but that was one of the most impressive coaching performances by Ryan Walters to call the offense and the defense that day, even in a loss, even in the worst season Purdue's probably ever had. Like, just doing both of that was really impressive.
And guess who's going to be calling the defense for Washington this year?
That's right. That's why I don't like that game, Warren.
I won't be going to that one. I'm going to watch that one from here. I'd like to go to Indiana and I'd like to go to Wisconsin and Purdue because they're close and we can ride there. But I'm not getting on any flights.
Well, Loren Tate, the time today you spent with us, we really, really appreciate it. And you're an inspiration to me. You have been, and you've been awesome to me throughout my career. So appreciate your time and can't wait to see you in the press box on Friday night.
I'll be there. See you there, Jeremy. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Are you ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Well, Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. And with over 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. So you can choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Keto, or my favorite, Protein Plus. And Factor also can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. Reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code FACTORPODCAST to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. All right, happy to talk about the fan experience now with Tom Moreland, Illinois Chief Commercial Officer, joining us here. Tom, how are you? It's game time, man.
Great, man. It's been an awesome summer. Really, our planning for 2025 season really started last in November. Incredible amount of energy around the program. It's been great just to see the energy and the vision, with Coach B that he's created here at Illinois, and the things that Coach B's talked to you about on a pretty regular basis, the thing that Josh has talked to you about. And so just those years of work have really started to pay off. And so it's going to be a really exciting season for us. We're going to have a full stadium at Memorial on a pretty regular basis, and just excited for this kickoff on Friday versus Western Illinois.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. We were talking before you came on about the students and how many tickets they've scooped up. And I can tell you, when I was a student 20 years ago, just 5 years ago, the students were not scooping up tickets like this. So it's pretty amazing. And that's such a great thing for you guys. And like you said, it says a lot about what Bielema is building here. But that also gives you guys a little bit of a challenge, right? Like what is the challenge when you have a full Memorial Stadium like that?
Yeah, we'll sign up for that challenge every single game. When you look at the history of our student section in football, call it 4 years ago, it's probably maybe 3,000 or 4,000 in Memorial. And so this year we've sold roughly 8,500 student season tickets, which is just incredible. Our students have been awesome, really bought into just the belief, the energy, and what a cool experience to go to a college football game. And so what we'll have on Friday is we'll have at least 10,000 students at the game. Like just think about that for a moment. There's going to be 10,000 students at that game. I think it could be nearly 11,000 students at that game. And so We have a great event management staff, and we'll make sure to work with them. And so, for any of the students that listen to the pod, or maybe any of their parents, we just encourage all of our students to really maybe get there a little bit earlier, because we're going to have a really full crowd. But just for that overall student experience, right, on our campus, to be able to go to a game, to be with 10,000 of their other students, I think that's just a lifelong memory that they'll really carry. And looking forward them to really be at all of our other games as well, because we have a great student population. They support our student athletes and coaches. But, credit goes to Coach B, the vision he's created, like I touched on, our student athletes and everything that they're doing.
Well, Tom, let's kind of take fans through the experience they'll have when they get to the stadium. Let's start with parking, tailgating. I know I go to a lot of these Big Ten stadiums, and the tailgating setup at Illinois, the potential has always been there with Grange Grove, and what a great setup that is. And it feels like we're starting to see that. So take fans through what they can expect, parking and just tailgating scene of what they need to know going to the stadium.
Yeah, I think what our fans know, and the rest of the conference is seeing it, and certainly the rest of the country, is we have the best tailgating in the Big Ten. From Grange Grove to lot 31 to just all the different lots we have, it's truly unmatched. And so we certainly have that. What we try to focus on our team is really from the moment you leave your driveway to coming to the game to when you get home after the game. We try to really make sure that we're on top of all those things. And so we'll just encourage all your listeners and viewers and people on the message boards to arrive a little bit earlier. Parking's certainly going to be packed. It's going to be for Western. It's going to be for every single game. And so, gone are the days of maybe showing up 45 minutes or a half an hour before kickoff. Our lots are going to be nearly sold out. And so just encourage them to really just have a thoughtful plan, and the people they tailgate with and the people that they come to the games with. If there's one thing I would make sure they know is download your tickets before you leave. I think what we see sometimes is people get through their tailgate and they're like, oh, I got to download my ticket here. And so it's really important just for our fans, maybe do it tonight, do it tomorrow morning, download those tickets, put them in your wallet. If you're sharing them with friends and family, go ahead and do that tonight. Do it while you're listening to the pod right now. And so our parking, our tailgating is second to none. And we just think we'll have a great atmosphere when it comes to tailgating. And Grange Grove is just so unique to the University of Illinois. And as we bring more fans in, as they see Grange Grove, it's just a great experience. We've added some really cool elements to Illini Walk. And so I'd encourage our fans to make sure to get there. There's a ton of energy around it. And I think when you look at college football, just the things that we've done with Illini Walk, I think are really unique. And I think our fans will enjoy some of the enhancements that we've made this year.
I always tell people at least go once to Illini.
Oh, absolutely.
It is a unique, really experience right there. I do know you guys don't want long lines before these games to get into the stadiums, right? And metal detectors is now part of the process of getting into the stadium. So what can you tell people about that?
Yeah, we've been working on this with UIPD and campus really ever since January. And so we've partnered with the same company. It's called CHEA. For our fans and your listeners that are Cubs fans or have been to Wrigley, it's the same company. And so they've been a great partner. When you've gone to Wrigley and gone through their process, it's going to look very similar. And so when you've been at Wrigley, you maybe not even noticed it, because it is so seamless. And so we just tell our fans as we work through metal detectors just to maybe get in line maybe 5 or 10 minutes earlier. What's great about the CHEA product is when it comes to your cell phone, your keys, your wallet, kind of the normal things that all of our fans have, you don't need to take those out of your pockets. If you have maybe some unique things like a metal glass case or, sunglasses or something like that, they maybe need to pull you aside. But so we've been really thoughtful in our approach on this. We've sent out a lot of communication. We'll send out a few more things here later today, and then some things Friday morning as well. And so great partnership with UIPD on it, working with our campus, because as we've really grown attendance, we focused on every aspect of the fan experience. When we talk about Big Ten's best tailgating, that includes every element of our fan experience. And we've continued to improve that really on a yearly basis. Some things we've done in the horseshoe, our concessions, the West Hall, the East Hall, some improvements we've made in premium seating. But the safety of our fans is really important. And so the feedback we've got from them as we've really reviewed this is they wanted to see it. And so we feel great about the approach that we're taking and the partnership with CHEA. But we just, tell our fans, make sure to download your tickets, maybe get to the stadium when you queue up 5 or 10 minutes earlier, but it's going to be a really smooth process because we put a lot of thought into it.
And I know, Tom, once you get into the stadium, you want to make it as great of a product as possible. Obviously, the team does its part, the coaching staff does its part, but concessions, I know Wi-Fi upgrade has been on your guys' list of things to do. So what's different or what's new or what can you share about once they get into the stadium?
Yeah, I think they'll see increased concessions, right? So the amount of areas where we call it a POS, point of sale, they'll see increases there. We've made some real improvements in the south end zone, in the horseshoe area, on the west side and on the east side. Just diversified products, different offerings. Some people want to stick to the hot dog, the nacho, and the pretzel, but we've got a great relationship with Jersey Mike's, Smith Brothers, several other vendors. And so our fans have really told us through surveys they want to see different types of things. But, like you touched on, that energy and that vision really starts with Coach Bielema, starts with Josh, and we're committed to that fan experience. And so I think concessions will be really good. The ingress coming into the stadium through the metal detectors, I think that's going to go a lot smoother than people think. Sometimes with our lines, especially in Grange Grove, they sometimes seem long, but we've got a great relationship with our event management staff and UIPD where we time all those lines. And usually the wait's about 5 to 6 minutes. It might be a little bit longer for these first couple games with the metal detectors, but we just tell them to show up a little bit earlier. And what we did back in 23 and 24, we have a Illini hour. And so they'll have discounts on all different types of foods. And so the change we made with concessions for 25 is a Illini hour will be at every concession stand. It won't be at our food trucks. That's a little hard to pull off, but we'll have those discounted concessions from, the 90 minutes when we open gates to 30 minutes before kickoff. And I know a lot of our fans really take advantage of that because when you think about the entrance for Illini football, right, with the team entrance, with the siren sounder, we have the Final Four team coming back doing the siren. It's really, really cool. And we've got some new elements to really unveil on Friday. We'll wait for our fans to see that. We got some cool surprises, some cool things on the video board. And so it's just a really exciting time and a lot of energy around the program.
I'm wondering for you, Tom, I mean, you see the Savannah bananas going off like they are. Like it's really cool.
Especially as a baseball guy.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, like, as you approach your job, like, how do you find the balance of, not going all out like that? I mean, people are there for the game, but also trying to find entertainment for people that are in the stadium that aren't sitting at the TV, right? Because you still want people to come into this stadium, and it's easy to sit on the TV and just flip it between games. So how do you guys approach the entertainment in game while there's timeouts, all of that?
Yeah, I think the first is just in a really thoughtful way. We don't want to overly commercialize it. There's incredible traditions with Memorial Stadium. The energy and the product on the field, being 12th in the country right now, is second to none. And so we don't want to do anything to take away from that. We really want our fans to have that fear of missing out. And the one thing that I tell our staff on a regular basis is, I want them to feel like they're on the field. It's their environment. I think we have a great home field environment. And so want our fans to be loud, to be engaged, to have that really good fan experience with concessions and ingress and all those other elements. But I want them to leave the game with a smile on their face after a great Illinois win. But I want them to be tired. I want them to feel like, they're under center, right? That they're really a part of the program, because our fans are really important to that home field environment. And so I think Memorial Stadium is second to none. I've been fortunate to be in the Big Ten Conference for a long time, like you and I have talked. And, when I was at some other institutions, I always really admired Memorial Stadium. And I've always really admired our fan base. And where the program is today, I think it's unlimited. And you've covered that with some of your other conversations. And that's really starting to come to fruition with just the energy and vision that Coach Bielema and his staff have developed, and just the incredible work that our student athletes put in on a daily basis.
Tom, you undertook a big project. It can be a scary project, I'm sure, especially for ticket holders, but the Illini era project, the reseating here, how did that go? What's that process been like as you kind of see through it now?
Yeah, it was a great process. Grateful to our fans to take a system that was in place for probably nearly 30 or 40 years and to make really significant changes. And so just their engagement with our staff, reaching out, learning the information, going through 2 receipts in about a 90-day period is an incredible undertaking. It's an undertaking for our ticket office, the iFund, our development staff, but then also for our fans. It was very successful with selling out a football season tickets in at least 20 years. So very long time since we've done that. When you look at the amount of season tickets being sold in the Brett Bielema era, it's really grown from about, I think, 21 or 22,000 to that 43,000 mark. So it's nearly doubled, but really appreciative of our fans of learning that new system. And I think they've really benefited from it. It's a lot easier just to go online and buy a ticket. And I think that's what our fans expect. I remember when you and I sat down, it was that April or May before we went public with it. Our fans should have really high expectations for us, and the type of just systems that we provide, the ease of use, the transparency. We take a really a long view at that, and we take a lot of pride in that as well, just like we do with our total fan experience. And so it couldn't have gone much better. Our staff did a remarkable job, but really the thanks goes out to our fans to really buying into that. I know it was a lot of information to learn. We gave them that year-long runway, but now for years to come, our overall ticket buying, purchase, tailgating, supporting the iFund is just going to be a lot easier.
Tom, in the 2010s, I think we had 2 football sellouts. We had a couple, I believe, last year, and now a couple already this year, including Western Michigan, Ohio State coming to town. I know you guys are pretty close on USC, and if people want tickets, right, they need to get those now, but that's a pretty great sign.
Yeah, it is. I expect USC probably the next 4 or 5 days. It's probably around 700 or 800 tickets that are left. So we just really encourage fans to go directly on our website and purchase those. I think what's shown to be true over time is if you really wait to the week of and you're going to go on the secondary market, it's going to be pretty expensive. So absolutely expect USC to be a sellout. But as we look at Rutgers and Maryland and the different groups we have coming to those and Dad's Day and those types of events, I anticipate those to be a sellout as well. And so as the team continues to go through the season, we just really tell our fans to take a look at that and where they're able to support the program, to do that sooner rather than later. But our fans have just bought into so many different things. But like you said, in the 2010s, we had a couple, and I expect where the program is now to have, probably 5 sellouts this season, and really just to have an incredible fan experience, game day experience, and just memories that they'll have with their family and friends at Memorial Stadium.
Before I let you go, Tom, the 04-05 basketball team is going to be here. That was kind of a deal in my life 20 years ago, and I know for so many Illinois fans it is. How are people going to be able to see them this weekend? I know I've had a lot of people ask me that, and it's going to be cool to see most of that group here.
Yeah, they're going to see them in multiple ways. I think it's great that they're going to be the siren sounder, and we got almost the entire team back, which I think is really cool because they're spread out all over the country. I wasn't fortunate enough to go to Illinois. I went to a different Big Ten school, but I vividly remember watching that team play, like really dynamic team, and had the chance to meet a few of them over my years here. And so we'll have some aspects with the Illini Walk after the football team goes through, and we've put out some communication materials. So I would just encourage them to check it out on social media. We've got really detailed information, and also just to go to our website so they can see that Final Four team. But it's great to have them back. Really just such a important part of the athletics history at Illinois. And we know our fans love engaging with that team and also engaging with this year's 2025 Fighting Illini football team. It should be a great home opener on Friday.
Yeah. Tom Moreland, Illinois Chief Commercial Officer. Tom, thank you for the information. I think this is really helpful for fans, and good luck to your team because your team kicks off on Friday as well. So thank you for the information as always, Tom.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it.